Welcome back to Make You a Better Public Speaker. Today is lesson 66, and we are focusing in on the recap, right? A recap, essentially just a summarization of all your information throughout your speech or instructions. Either way, you need to have a good recap in order to be a great public speaker. So here are three reasons why. Number one, reinforcing key points. Depending on how long you're speaking, doesn't matter if it's 1 minute or 1 hour or more. The idea is that your audience is not always going to be able to remember every aspect because life, attention spans. People might walk out the room, come back in, might fall asleep. Either way, hopefully they don't fall asleep. But number one, being able to reinforce your key points. So quickly go over each main point that you think the audience should have paid attention to. And this allows them to have a better recall. Like, oh, okay, that's right. He mentioned that or she mentioned that. So that's really important. Number two, facilitating transition. So again, when you recap, it's not just at the end. It's like every point you have, you need to recap the information within that point. Because the same reason above, the audience might miss something. So when you have a paragraph or like your first point is blah, 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 blah. All right. So just remember blah, 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 blah on my first point. So each transition you should recap. This allows the audience to have some time to kind of mentally process what they heard. And again, did they make sure they heard what they heard? Because you kind of like went over it again. And that's crucial, right? You got to think about your audience. For me, sometimes I talk too fast for my students. So at each moment, we do like clarifying questions and just kind of making sure they remember important parts that are probably going to be on the test. So number three, strengthen engagement, right? Again, a recap doesn't just have to be you saying what is important. You get to ask specific questions to your audience, right? You can have them, hey, you and your partner right next to you, have a little quick conversation. Write down what the points are. And then you can kind of go call upon the audience or your students in my case and ask them, what do you think is the most important aspect? And if they're right, positive reinforcement. If they're wrong, say, hey, that's something really good to remember, but you can add to it, right? It doesn't just have to be you talking during a recap. You add the audience involved, see where they're listening, because this allows you to learn about how is your message getting across? Is the important details that you mentioned, is your audience paying attention to them? Right? This helps you as a teacher, instructor, public speaker to see what areas you need to probably work on and how you present them. Because the audience at the end of the day is going to pick out what they think is important to them. So you got to make it pretty clear. And with that engagement, you're going to find out for yourself which your audience thinks is actually pretty important. So again, to make you a better public speaker, three ways to recap: reinforce key points, facilitate transition, and strengthen engagement. So go out there, recap quality, right? Do some quality recaps and become a better public speaker. See you next time.